They say every neighborhood's got that one house, the one where trouble comes looking for you. But let me tell you, nothing will snap you out of your everyday grind faster than getting tased in your own driveway with your 10-year-old daughter screaming through the window. All courtesy of the HOA's so-called security team who figured they'd enforce their brand new 8 o'clock p.m. mailbox curfew with a couple thousand volts right there on my front lawn. No joke, the only thing those clowns tested that night was how much self-control I had left in me. But maybe I should back up and show you just how deep the crazy runs around here. It kicked off like most suburban nonsense with a letter all stiff and official taped right onto my mailbox. You ever seen a piece of paper that tries to look important just by using some fancy font that's Creekwood Estates for you? This time the memo said we weren't allowed to step outside, check our mail, or even open our front doors between 8 o'clock at night and 6 o'clock in the morning. Not for our safety, mind you, but to preserve community order. And if we broke the rule, we'd get a fine. I'll be honest. I laughed. Tossed it straight into the recycling, figured. Yeah, right, Karen. See, Karen Livingston, the HOA president, she's got a heart made of beige paint chips and the kind of personality that could sour milk. She polices lawns with a laser level and once fined a guy for planting marigolds an inch too close to the curb. Me, I had bigger worries. My daughter Rachel had a volcano to build for science class, and my main goal was keeping it from gluing itself to the kitchen table. I'd spent years in the Marines, even ran a custom auto shop these days. Dealt with a lot worse than a mailbox curfew. Turns out underestimating Karen was my first big mistake. That evening, Rachel's volcano erupted like a champ, all baking soda and vinegar bubbling over a cheap tray. She was grinning ear to ear, proud as could be. It was a couple minutes after 8. As I was wiping up the last of the lava, I remembered I'd left the mail outside. Old habits can't break 'em. So I grabbed my keys and Rachel tagged along, hoping to catch a glimpse of the stars. Summer air, the sky streaked orange gravel crunching under my boots, the kind of night you almost forget the world's got teeth. Soon as I popped open the mailbox, this dark windowless van comes screaming up out of nowhere. No headlights, nothing. 3 guys in tight black polos, earpieces glowing blue, the words HOA Security stamped across their chests like they were cosplaying as real cops. I figured it had to be a prank, maybe some bored kids. Then I saw the tasers arcing yellow, ready to light someone up. That old Marine reflex kicked in hard. "Rachel, get inside," I shouted, stepping between her and those goons. She bolted, screaming for me to lock the door, voice sharp enough to cut steel. And that's when something inside me shifted. No more friendly suburban dad, I was back in combat mode, just with less sand and more begonias. The 3 split up, trying to surround me. One lunged straight at me. I twisted his arm behind his back till I felt bone crack. He howled, dropped the taser. I shoved him right into the second guy, knocking both into Karen's prized flower bed. Third guy hesitated, then charged, so I jabbed the first taser right into his thigh. He dropped twitching like a fish on a dock. The other 2 scrambled, dragging their buddy, and piled back into the van, tearing off into the night, leaving a trail of ozone and busted petunias. I was standing there, heart-pounding, hands shaking. Checked myself for injuries, just some scrapes. Then I spotted my motorcycle helmet still perched on the mailbox. Little insurance camera I'd mounted was blinking red, recording the whole mess. That was going to come in handy, I figured. But as the adrenaline wore off, something that thug gasped out kept echoing in my mind. This isn't the one. Wrong house. I froze ice water in my veins. This wasn't some random mugging or dumb prank. These men were looking for a target and got the address wrong. Whoever they'd meant to hit was still out there, and Karen's curfew meant nobody saw a thing. It wasn't just about control. The curfew was cover. To understand how a quiet night can turn into a street brawl, you gotta know Creekwood Estates. On paper, it's suburban paradise, rolling hills, a man-made lake houses that all look the same under the streetlights. That's why I moved here, hoping Rachel could ride her bike without me checking rooftops for snipers. Trouble is, you can't really ever turn off that vigilance, not after what I'd seen overseas. After a tour in the sandbox, I opened Alex's Auto Authority, a little shop where rebuilding an old V8 was therapy. Creekwood was supposed to be my fresh start, but every kingdom's got its tyrant. Ours was Karen. She ran the HOA like it was her personal fiefdom, armed with a rulebook thick enough to stop a bullet. My first violation came within a week. She fined me because my garden hose wasn't coiled in a circumferentially uniform manner. Next week, it was the trash cans 3 inches too close to the sidewalk. $50 a pop, doubled if you didn't pay up quick. Death by 1,000 paper cuts. She had a way of making everyone feel like criminals for wanting to live their lives. I tried to play nice. Even went to one of her living room HOA meetings surrounded by walls painted in 50 shades of soul-crushing beige. Watched her rip into a little old lady for planting the wrong color roses, threatened to lien a young family's house because their kid's plastic slide was visible from the street. None of it was about community, it was about control. So I kept my head down, paid the fines, avoided drama. Until my neighbor Fred got involved. Fred, retired accountant, late 60s, binoculars always pointed suspiciously toward Karen's place. She's been running this gulag for 15 years, he told me. Last guy who challenged her moved out, found his poodle dyed green. Fred liked a tall tale, but he was usually right about who was on Karen's hit list. After the mailbox curfew, I saw it for what it was, another move in her endless chess game. But after the attack, that wrong house bit started to gnaw at me. It wasn't random. The curfew was designed to keep everyone inside, no witnesses, while her thugs paid someone a visit. I locked the door behind me, plugged the helmet camera into my laptop, and watched the footage over and over, dissecting every second. The thugs, the van, the struggle, but mostly I was listening. After a dozen runs, I caught a crackle from one guy's radio team. One confirmed the creek is clear for deposit. Not exactly code for delivering flowers. The creek dry, overgrown, out of sight behind the houses. Suddenly all those arbitrary rules felt a lot more sinister. Someone was planning something in the shadows and I'd stumbled straight into it. No way was I wandering back there alone. So I called the one person I could trust with my life. Dylan Vega, ex-Marine recon sniper, now private security for rich folks. Guy could wait 3 days in a bush for a target fueled by nothing but beef jerky and spite. When he picked up, I just said, "I've got a situation. Bring your night vision." He showed up in 2 hours, jeep full of gear, looking more like he was about to overthrow a country than visit the suburbs. We crept out behind my fence through the shadows and settled in by the creek, waiting. For a while, nothing, just crickets and the hum of distant AC units. Then headlights, 2 big tanker trucks eased along the service road, stopped at the creek. Men in work suits dragged out hoses, started dumping something thick and foul into the waterbed. The smell, chemical acidic, hit us like a gut punch. They were dumping toxic waste right behind our houses while the HOA's security kept everyone inside and quiet. All that petty tyranny, curfews, fines, bogus violations was just a smokescreen for real crime. Karen and her cronies were running an environmental disaster under the noses of a whole neighborhood. Dylan's face went hard. This isn't a 7 anymore, this is a 10. These people are organized. Calling the cops was out, who knew who was on the take. So we got smart. I cut a clip from my helmet cam. Just the attack, nothing that revealed too much, and sent it to a local blogger known for ruffling feathers. The next day she posted it. There was a little online buzz, but it didn't take long for Karen to go nuclear. She posted a rambling essay calling it all fake, blaming certain disgruntled residents, rid me, and announced an emergency hike in HOA dues to fund enhanced security. Typical turn, the blame squeezed the residents and tighten her grip. But that's when things finally started to crack. The neighbors, tired of being bullied, started asking questions. Fred began keeping watch with his binoculars, only this time he was looking out for tankers, not rare warblers. Even the old lady with the wrong-colored roses began speaking up, sharing her own run-ins with Karen's enforcers. I shared the creek video anonymously with the blogger, this time the whole ugly truth. A week later, state environmental officials showed up and the news vans weren't far behind. Karen tried to stonewall, but it was too late. The HOA board turned on her, desperate to save themselves. Turns out even her most loyal allies didn't want to go down with the ship. By the end of the month, Karen was outvoted off the board under investigation and very much alone. The toxic dumping stopped. Our neighborhood, for the first time in years, felt like ours again. Standing on my porch with Rachel watching the sun go down, I realized sometimes justice doesn't come from the top down, it comes sideways when regular folks finally push back. I'd always thought the worst monsters wore uniforms, but power wears all kinds of masks. Sometimes it's a clipboard and a stack of bylaws. Funny thing is, I never wanted a fight. I just wanted peace. But if you let bullies run unchecked, you get more than ugly flower beds. You get poisoned ground, broken trust, and neighbors afraid to check their own mail. Now here's the real kicker. What would you have done? When the folks in charge bend the rules for their own gain, is it right to fight back? Or do you just keep your head down? Hope it all blows over. Let me know below. Share your take. Or tell me about the wildest HOA story you've lived through. Because sometimes the only way to fix a broken system is to drag it kicking and screaming into the light.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.